Stefon Diggs.
Stefon Diggs to the Houston Texans.
Going to the Texans.
I just said, what the hell, Buffalo?
Right?
I tagged them, too.
Good.
Unbelievable.
So, but listen, we wondered if he would go somewhere, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like he's wanted out for 3 years, which also might be a little buyer beware on the Houston front. But from that standpoint,
so
is he going to be a happy player? Who knows? But
Adam Schefter reporting blockbuster Bills are finalizing a trade to send 4-time Pro Bowl wide receiver Stefon Diggs to the Houston Texans for draft pick compensation. See, like if it was like for Nico Collins, for somebody, draft pick compensation?
Yeah, like what?
Well, because here's the deal: they're taking on like $30 million. Like now, maybe they redo it, but I think his deal is like 30. I think he was like 31 against the cap this year. So I mean, what's this say to Josh Allen and Buffalo? Buffalo's just shredding people.
Yeah.
Or their roster.
Yeah, who they have a receiver now? Like
no Gabe Davis.
Gabe Davis and
that's what I'm saying. Who do they have?
Dalton Kincaid.
Ah, yeah, there we go.
I just got two separate texts.
This is what happens when you start running the football a lot more.
Well, they're going.
It's going to be the Cook Show now.
Chalk him up as another wide receiver, by the way, going in the first round.
True. Yeah, for real. Yeah.
I just got two separate texts that both said the same thing. Jags are screwed.
Well, okay. So first of all, I gotta say the draft pick compensation. Because what I'm worried about...
What do they have?
Well, no, for real. Give. But what I'm worried about... I mean, so they don't for sure, right? We know this? Because like, what I'm worried about is they get something in Buffalo, and then Buffalo uses that compensation to trade up to get a new wide receiver.
No, that probably will.
Ahead of the Jaguars.
It probably will.
Oh, fantastic.
The Houston Texans draft picks in 2024 are... Oh, they do have a 23rd overall pick from Cleveland.
Oh, for Deshaun.
So they probably gave up that then.
They probably gave up that. They have a 59th overall pick. They have an 86. So they've got one in every round, and then you get they've got one in every round.
All right, so the Bills are going to have the Bills are going to move up.
The Bills will have 2 first-rounders. I mean, this is how much do you think this is? First rounder and like a third? Or is it a second? Because here's the deal. They are taking a ton of money off the hand. The Bills had motivation to get rid of Diggs from a money standpoint, probably an attitude standpoint, and everything else. Mm-hmm. So I'm not sure they were going to like fleece him.
Oh, yeah. Well, here we go. Compensation updates. Adam Schefter reporting. Bills received 2025 second-round pick via Minnesota. Texans received Stefon Diggs and a 2024 sixth-round pick. Ooh, love those sixth-round picks. And a 2025 fifth-round pick.
A second?
So all they gave up was a second.
So really, they gave up a second. They got a fifth and a sixth back?
Correct.
So this was a money. Man, you guys are so soft.
Well, hang on. Okay, so here's what I'm thinking. Like, you know where I'm going with this? We could have gave up a second-round pick for Stefon Diggs being in Jacksonville?
Well, yeah, but would you pay him $30 million, whatever it costs?
Like, I'd rather have gotten Gabe.
I'd rather have Ayuk or Higgins for that kind of money. And honestly, I'd rather have a younger guy, I think, than Diggs at this stage.
Yeah.
I'm serious. Like, I'm now listen, I'm not telling you this doesn't look dangerous. I'm just saying, this isn't a compensation deal as much as it's a money deal and a new scenery for Diggs. I mean, Diggs has been a little bit of an issue there.
Sure.
From at least the noise says. I don't know how big of an issue he's been. He's a very talented guy, of course. But
all I know, Brent, about Diggs is, listen, say what you want about the attitude. Say what you want about his age now. He's 30. When he went to Buffalo, Josh Allen got a lot more confident.
Yeah.
Josh Allen became Josh Allen. He's going to Houston, and once again, he doesn't have to be the guy in Houston. Like, you have plenty of other talent. Like, you can fill in a role. You can be 1A, or you can be a 2, really, with Nico. If I'm CJ Stroud right now, I'm happy. I'll say that much.
You should be. And by the way, what you said for Buffalo is right on the money, man. Because I always say when Buffalo traded, that trade to me stands out. That trade to me prompted one of my 7 reasons of how to fix the Jags is you've got to be bold and make a move. I was like, what are you giving up here if you're Minnesota? And what are you trading away draft capital-wise if you're Buffalo? Well, it worked out for both. And by the way, Minnesota got Justin Jefferson out of that deal, and it really did help Josh Allen and Buffalo take another step, no doubt. He had 127 catches, 1,500 yards his first year, 8 touchdowns. Then he goes 1,200, 10 touchdowns. Then he goes 1,400, 11 touchdowns. Then he goes 1,100 this year, 8 touchdowns. So, I mean, he's had 6 consecutive 1,000-yard seasons. He's on a Mike Evans path, really, at what he's been able to do. He's got 127 catches, 103 catches, 108 catches, 107 catches. He's got 37 touchdowns in the last 4 years in Buffalo. And he's got a terrific young quarterback to play with. Now, the question they have to ask themselves in Houston, are we getting some of that still? Like, how much is left? The guy has now played 9 years in the NFL. Mm-hmm. And you can be 31, 32 and still get it done. I'm not predicting that he won't. And they also have to ask, is there any downside of, okay, he's been an unhappy guy, both stops in his career at times.
Yeah.
Will the change of scenery be really good this year? My guess is this is like a 2-year type of thing for them in their mind. Get them another couple of years with this group of talent that they have and with C.J. Stroud and help them out. So, yeah, listen, I think it's a bold move. I think it's a good move. They have a ton of money right now to play with, still left over. And they add to a team that looks really good right now. They continue to add. And I will go back to what I said to Doug Peterson at the owners' meetings, to you guys a lot. It is an arms race right now in the NFL to get weapons for your quarterback. And so hats off to Houston because they found weapons in the draft, and now they're even adding to them with what they're bringing in here. With who'd they bring in at running back? Joe Mixon.
Joe Mixon.
So they brought in Joe Mixon. And, I mean, They look really good on paper. But I do think, the way the NFL works, I do think they're taking a little risk with the Mixon and Diggs move, too. I don't think these are slam dunk moves. Those are aging players.
I mean,
they're aging players now. And you never know. They did re-sign Schultz, too, who's a very effective player. I think people leave him out at the tight end spot. They don't talk about him enough. But, yeah, go defend this, Ryan Nielsen and the Jags.
Yeah. Best of luck to you. I mean, yeah, are you taking a risk? Absolutely. But I think you have a team in Houston who looks at the big picture. That you beat Cleveland in the playoffs. Obviously, you kind of got manhandled a little bit by the Baltimore Ravens. They ran the ball down your throat. You addressed that a little bit in terms of bringing some guys in on defense. And you have a quarterback who showed all promise to be the next big thing. So now you upgrade, one would say you upgrade that quarterback position by giving him a better run game with Joe Mixon, by giving him Stefon Diggs. It's just, if I'm a Texans fan, and then I get, the salary cap and everything like that, yada, yada. If I'm a Texans fan, I'm celebrating. I'm happy.
You should be.
You should be really excited for your team because you have a quarterback who just got another weapon. And that's what we're talking about here in Jacksonville. We got Gabe Davis. Okay, we're a little excited, I guess, for that. But it's not Stefon Diggs. We'll see how the draft shakes out. But this is taking care of your quarterback.
Yeah, it is.
This is giving him all the tools that you need to succeed. I hope we're taking notes.
Yeah, I think Nick Caserio and company have done a really good job. They hit a home run with the head coach, and then they hit a home run with C.J. Stroud in year one. They hit a home run moving up and being very aggressive, getting Will Anderson. We just spent the last half hour talking about that, and then this thing breaks. Are you surprised at all, before I get to how this could impact the Jags, are you surprised at all the Bills kind of, did the Bills just need a dance partner because they left them in the AFC? I think this is a team that you're going to compete against to go to a Super Bowl.
I think the Bills have a plan. Like whether it's drafting somebody, I don't know if I don't know, might be T. Higgins. Like I think the Bills have a plan here.
Yeah.
Like listen, you wouldn't lose Gabe Davis and then trade away Stefon Diggs if you didn't have a plan. They know something.
Well, yeah, the plan can be. I'm not even talking about what they do. I'm talking about they just gave away one of their star players to a team that they might contend with in the AFC.
Because they have a plan is what I'm saying.
Well, that's fine to have the plan, but why wouldn't you try to get him to the NFC? Does this say this was the best suitor?
Maybe this was the best offer.
Maybe the only suitor. I don't know.
Yeah.
Again, I think Diggs has been unbelievable. I do think he comes with some stuff now, though. And you've got a young quarterback. You've got a young football team. What's the impact? We've seen that in Jacksonville now. The impact on young talent when you get. And I'm not even calling Diggs a bad guy. I'm just saying there's stuff There's stuff on the sideline. There's stuff in the locker room. There's a history of this stuff. So if it goes sideways for 3 weeks, he ain't necessarily the guy saying, let's go, guys, I got this, we got this. No, he's the guy throwing his helmet instead and complaining about not getting the football. Like, that's a dangerous thing.
It's a dangerous thing, and this could be a dangerous thing in Houston because you're probably going to run the ball as well. I mean, to me, the whole locker room antics, like, yeah, he's always been kind of that guy. You saw it in Minnesota and everything. But when they changed coordinators and they started pounding the rock a lot more, was when he got upset.
Yeah.
And you saw it on the sidelines in every single Bills game, even when they were winning. He was upset because now he wasn't the focal point of offense anymore. And you got to share reps with, Nico Collins. Like, it's not like Nico Collins is any slouch at all. So I'm very curious to see how he's going to be 1A and 1B, because when we saw that story in Minnesota with Adam Thielen in his prime, it didn't work out so well. But once again, I think if you're CJ Stroud, you're excited for it.
Well, not only that, they got Dell, they got Diggs, they got Collins, but didn't they re-sign Noah Brown too? I'm pretty sure they did.
Yeah. So the fact that like Buffalo didn't even ask for a Noah Brown or anybody, like I said, there's a plan in place for them.
So where do these guys stack up now weapons wise? Because I'm looking at Mixon, Diggs, Collins, Tank Dell, Noah Brown, Dalton Schultz, and that is hard not to put in the top 5.
I mean, on paper,
I gotta believe,
yeah, top 5 for sure.
I mean, for them to just send it like they just did, I know they're taking on a ton of money, but I mean, I agree, Brent, that it's impressive and you got to applaud the ballsiness or whatever you want to call it to take on the contract. But
yeah,
I don't know how that doesn't make you sweat.
Yeah.
Man.
Well, hey, this is the luxury of having a quarterback on a rookie contract.
Well, that's true too. Listen, they've got more. They're in a different time. They're a totally different situation than where the Jags were. Jags spent all that money in free agency and so didn't have as much money these couple of years on the rookie contract. But listen, they got better around Trevor because they spent all that money. So it's not like they did it wrong. Now, it just didn't work out last year because of the failure down the stretch. But this team is positioned very nicely because they hit in the draft. They hit in the draft, and now you do have this money to try to go chase Keenan Allen late in his years. Now Diggs, see, that's what's pretty interesting to me here is they wanted to continue to surround. I like what they're doing. We're trying to get that in Jacksonville. We're trying to say, why are these quarterbacks failing around the league? Well, you're not doing them any favors. Well, they're doing some favors now for C.J. Stroud, right? They have got to be applauded for what they're doing to help him. It looks like what Chicago has learned from the Justin Fields experiment is we didn't do enough to help him, so we're going to do more to help him. But what's wild to me is it's like they tried to bring in Keenan Allen. Again, long in the tooth, but still very productive receiver, can really help you out. But he's like all-world guy, all-world teammate guy, from what it sounds like in L.A. They tried to get him, and what I say, okay, that makes some sense. Young quarterback, young receivers, pretty young group of people. Now you come influence. Well, this guy doesn't seem like influence guy in a positive way, Diggs. Yeah. So they might have tried to get that receiver, the added weapon. They even didn't care about the expense. But it was just interesting, the dynamic that they were chasing Keenan Allen and an Eric Armstead to help maybe their locker room vibe. And they were like, okay, we feel like we're comfortable doing this with Diggs, even though he might. Again, I'm not trying to paint Diggs as like the worst guy in the world. I'm not saying you're bringing in Antonio Brown.
No,
okay?
and maybe DeMeco Ryans can get the best out of him as well. I mean, DeMeco Ryan seems like a guy that, his team wants to play for him. So maybe Ryans goes, you know what? I know Diggs has had some problems in the past. He's been frustrated. I can get the best out of him.
Yeah. So here's the deal, guys. This is what I go to. What does this do to the Jags? What are the Jags doing? We have that picture of Miller Electric, right? What are they doing? Because Indianapolis, to me, isn't a factor here. And I'm not telling you they're not a factor in the division. I'm just saying they're not a factor in this conversation. Indianapolis has Anthony Richardson coming in. They actually lose Gardner Minshew, really helped them out. They re-signed a lot of their players, much like the Jags did from 22 to 23. They kept what they had. They have not been super aggressive. That does not mean they don't trade up in the draft or something like that. They do pick 2 spots ahead of the Jaguars, so we could see them. But at least for this conversation, they haven't been aggressive. The Tennessee Titans replaced Derrick Henry with Pollard. They brought in a new regime and a new coach. They go spend crazy money, in my opinion, to get Calvin Ridley and give Will Levis an option. I think weren't they recently tied with somebody else? There's some conversation about them getting somebody else. They're going to pick 7. The conversation was they could get one of these receivers, right? They could get a Dunze or if Harrison slips or Neighbors. So they could really go add to their offense. And now you look at what Houston's doing. Houston brings in Joe Mixon, more proven guy. Their running game has actually been good the last couple of years anyway, but they can continue it with Mixon. They added some defensive guys. They lost out on some players like Keenan Allen and Armstead, but now they bring in, obviously, Stefon Diggs that makes them look really potent on offense. Does this now force the Jags' hand to keep up with the aggression? I've been asking this question for a lot over the last month. Are the Jags aggressive? Are they being aggressive? All signs point to them being aggressive here. Looks like their chips are in. Asked Doug Peterson last week. He said, well, our chips are always in. I felt like saying, yeah, but sometimes the chips are in a lot more, right? I mean, that is true. Sometimes they're in a lot more. Is this going to make the Jags more motivated? And maybe they already were, to go get one of those top receivers, to go even revisit a trade for Brandon Ayuk or a T. Higgins, because of now in a response of what the rest of the division is doing, specifically Houston, but I would say even Tennessee.
I mean, is it going to change? Listen, if Stefon Diggs going to the Houston Texans is the reason why now you have to get more aggressive in helping out Trevor Lawrence, then what are we doing here? Like, no, this shouldn't affect the decision at all. There should be a plan in place already, regardless of what happened today or not.
Yeah, I think there was, Austen. I'm not saying this was reactionary. I'm just saying, is it more motivation to do it? Like, my opinion is they have a plan, the Jags. We have discussed their plan. We have tried to sit at the table and said, hey, this is what we would do. We think this is a great time to be aggressive. Started the show today with, I think we're on the same page as GM Austen, GM Hamby, GM Brent, right? We're in the same boat. We think receiver is a priority. We think being aggressive and even trading up for receiver isn't a bad move. Mm-hmm. We also talked a lot about Brock Bowers yesterday to help out that offense. Like, these are things that we're kind of, let's just assume that's what they're talking about too. I would say now if we have this discussion again after the show today and we're sitting there and we're going through everything, it's like, hey, let's pick up that phone again and maybe try Ayuk. Let's not risk. We need somebody. Like, we can control this better if we go call San Francisco up or if we call Cincinnati up instead of, there might be 5 or 6 teams, including now the Buffalo Bills, trying to trade up to number 8 with the Atlanta Falcons to go get neighbors.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying you're going to it changes your plan. I'm just saying it maybe expedites your plan or makes you a little bit more aggressive in your planning.
Yeah, I mean, literally. So the only way, once again, here's where I'm coming from. Diggs was never on the table for the Jaguars. Like, I don't think they ever pondered getting Stefon Diggs here. No. So, like, that doesn't affect you. So then how does it affect you as a franchise? Well, it can affect you in terms of, do the Bills trade up now to get their guy? We can say that, but we know how this draft could shake out. Like, receivers could be very, very top heavy, especially the first 3, right? Do they have enough to trade up? Possibly, but they still have to find a suitor. And they have to find a suitor who's not trying to get a wide receiver. So to me, to let go of your number 1 receiver, the guy who kind of made Josh Allen for a while, leads me to believe that there's more of a plan in terms of either a T. Higgins or Brandon Ayuk, because that's a sure thing. You don't just let your one receiver go that helped out Josh Allen on a whim, on a hope.
They might not like him either.
Okay, but you may not like him, but then how does it help Josh Allen? Like, what do you think Josh Allen's thinking right now?
Yeah, I get it, man. But
who's he throwing to, Brent? Who are the Bills' wide receivers?
Yeah, I saw the list.
I seriously don't know. I can't name anybody.
Shakur or something?
Oh, there we go.
Khalil Shakir.
Tupac? Who? Tupac Shakur? Okay, who else? No, I'm just kidding. So Shakir's actually a pretty good slot guy. But he's a slot guy.